Today's episode is about dating in your 30s. Now, I left my ex-girlfriend last February. I had that whole sort of, and I've been going through the dating circuit because I'm pretty avid about it. I don't know why, but I always prioritize romance over other things because it's probably the most interesting thing. I'm not very good at the whole sort of I don't really care that much about money either because it's like I want to do something that's interesting with my life. And there's nothing more interesting than love. But I mean, I just want to talk about today about dating by the numbers because it's not romantic anymore. I was on Hinge for about I was on Hinge and I've met a couple of really really brilliant people there, and I went out with a neurosurgeon, a couple of doctors, 2 surgeons actually, one of whom I ended up with for some time, and had a great relationship with until it fell apart. Then I had I've come to realise that it's a job interview every time. Yeah, it's not fun anymore. It's stressful. And obviously when you've got low self-esteem coming out of a relationship, you end up, no one leaves somebody because they're having a good time. You go out and you've got your self-esteem's absolutely rock bottom, and you kind of start dating because you feel lonely and you want someone to talk to, or you want to be around people, or you kind of want to understand yourself better. Right. And I felt like for the first, it took me about 6-7 months of dating people before I kind of came to terms with the fact that every single time I go home, I feel depressed as fuck. Right. I once went out with the first date I went on was about 2 months after the breakup, 3 months after the breakup, and it was this new, there was this Oxford graduate psychiatrist, and didn't clock that ADHD, but kept telling me off for talking too fast, which was a bit awkward. And then said that actually it's pretty bad. I don't know how it came up, but she said that ADHD is a bit of a bad thing. So I was like, okay, I'm just going to talk about that then. With her, and I was a bit like, she said that she told her dad off for having symptoms. I was a bit like, this is not going to work.
Sounds like a lunatic.
She was all right. I mean, she was lovely, but she was just a little bit. I don't think that it would have worked. In other words, she didn't like me back, and she was hot. I just kind of, I've got an issue with it because it's no longer boy meets girl, girl meets boy, they get on great, and then they have lots of adventures together, and eventually you end up together because you realise this is somebody who you don't want to not be around, which is what I think love should be, really. Yeah. Or it's how it happens. It's how I've ended up moving in with partners in the past, because this was how it went. But what about you?
I guess I have no experience dating in my 30s because I've been with my wife since I was 26.
Bloody hell.
So like 5 years now, so I don't really have an experience dating in my 30s, but I remember what it was like. It was a sudden shift when you hit your mid to late 20s, where before you used to just date because you liked somebody, or you just got on.
You wanted to screw each other.
Yeah, it's just like that. It was just
fun times.
Just liked each other, but then when I know from my online dating experience, it became more of like work. It became more talking to certain people. I think especially with women, when they hit a certain age, they're more proactive. I'd say it's more determined to find the right person to be with. This is the person they're gonna have their kids with. This is the person that they're gonna settle down with. So their criteria on what they want in a partner is a lot higher than it was when you're in your late teens and early 20s, where you just like each other.
My late 20s, to be honest.
Yeah. So that's what the shift. I noticed that shift, and I was like, I found it a bit weird. I remember talking to a few girls online, and then how it was with them was like, if we progress, or if we get to the next level, and it felt like just a job interview. Because I've been to when I graduated university, I went for a few job interviews where there's stage 1, stage 2, stage 3, and it was like horrible. It's like you go to these group interviews, and then you're like, you're all in your
that's suit. Like dating stage 1, so they're seeing like 4 other people, and it's like, all right, let's see what this one's got. And it's like this candidate, and you're sitting there like, I'm paying for this meal. What the fuck? It's like 60 quid per go.
Yeah, and how these group interviews will work? You go there in a group interview, and you're pretending to talk to people, like trying to get along with people because you don't know who's who. And who
what do you wear for this interview? Yeah, whatever you want.
You're all there together.
No, give me a dress code.
You go through, you jump through these hoops. Cause I went for like a group interview all together. Then they put they give you a series of different tests. You do one test, you do another test. Then you have a one-on-one interview. Then you have a next interview. And then then if you made it to the next stage, they call you back for a final stage interview.
That's what they do with the Navy as well. And I felt like that with mine. It was like you passed the intelligence test through texting. You pass the looks test through the fact that your couple of pictures are likable, and then the next one is that you have the face-to-face interview in which they tell you categorically about all their ex-boyfriends and what went wrong with them, and you're sitting there and you're like, okay, well I may as well share my stories back, and of course no one. But then you get caught out on that because it's like, you know, like if you say, oh yeah, my ex-girlfriend was really difficult in this situation, and you know, like, or anything like that, you kind of get into your own head about it, especially when you've just come out of a breakup. I mean, fuck.
And I feel that I feel like it took the fun out of it. It felt a bit weird, and I hated going for jobs like that. After a while, after like a few years of going for jobs like that, I decided, you know what, any job that makes me do all of that, I'm just not.
I wouldn't go jumping through hoops for any company except for ones that were really worth it.
So I found it weird, like dating a few years after that. That's how it became, where it's just like stage 1, stage 2, and if we progress, and it all become like when you meet these girls now, like
women, really.
I understand, I do get it though, because they've graduated, they've started their careers. Now they don't have time to mess around with like people. Like when you're younger, you can date someone just because they look good or you like them.
Well, you've got time. You're kind of fielding those mistakes and those. You can
date a so-called loser. You can date a so-called bum. You're saying you can do that. Not to say you are, but I'm just saying you can do that. It doesn't matter what the person's job does. It doesn't matter.
It does though. Now it does. Nowadays it really matters, because it's like, for example, I'd find myself, because I was just starting a new company, I didn't have any money. So because, you know, you start a new company, it takes 6 months before anything actually happens, but you work every day, you're kind of putting yourself out there, and it's really difficult. It's so depressing sometimes. And after about 6 months, you start to usually find something if you keep going. But most people don't. Most businesses fail because, you know, it's 6 months of just slogging away for nothing, and you don't even get any feedback or anything like that. It's hard. So when you've got that on top of like going to these, you know, on these dates, I'd go out with the career women, because that's mostly the people who are on Hinge, and I like intelligent people, and it's just, you know, because you kind of have that parallel of this person's going to have more to talk about, we're going to have more in common, because, you know, this is an impressive human being, I want to hear about their story, but when you kind of get hit with the criteria, the checklist method, which is something they have advertised, you know, I've seen in articles and stuff, it just sucks all of the romance out of it, which is the entire point. The entire point of going out with somebody, or you know, that whole thing, as we've said, is to kind of find someone you can actually love. This is the most YouTube thing we're ever going to do. We hope you enjoyed our video. Please do like and subscribe.